But I'm questioning. Good morning, Suzanne.
Good morning, Deborah Leanne.
Is it me or is there a little fuzziness in your audio?
I don't know why there would be any fuzziness in my audio.
I don't know. Um, but you know, the fact that there's all kinds of updates going on, I just am curious since we're going through updates and upgrades. Um, let's introduce today's morning chat and I'll have a sip of coffee. Maybe
Okay.
I'll
So this today we're talking about Gene Key 21, which is from the Gene Keys written by Richard Rudd. And this is all about a noble life. And there's three different states of consciousness that we are discussing. And the state of the shadow, it's very human, is control. The gift that emerges from the shadow is authority, and the civic state, or the essence of this key, is valor.
yeah. Oh, there's so much I want to say just about the words. I mean, the energy in the words
Yeah.
and control. I mean, we all have issues with either feeling like we've been controlled or having a controlling personality, but knowing what that feels like in our system um, is something that takes a while to wake up to, especially if it's us doing the controlling. And I was feeling into that this morning about how when I control, I'll admit it's one of my shadows. I mean, I don't have this personally in my profile, but controlling is high on my chart if you look at the leadership circle. So, but it always comes from fear. Like I am so afraid that if I don't control the situation, it won't go well. That the other person won't get what they need, that I won't get what I need. That, you know, there's all these underlying things. And I thought, dropping into just allowing that fear to be there is a very vulnerable space in itself because you're getting into what's causing that forceful angry behavior. um, and it's been a great exploration for me to see because it's not just one or two or three dimensions of where of where it shows up for me. but
Yeah.
we I'm looking at, I feel I want to talk about a little bit about anorexia and bulimia and our forcing our bodies to look a certain way, controlling our bodies.
Mm.
Very often, the young people that practice that, or old people, because there's a lot of adults I know that do that, that practice those eating disorders. And it's so much about feeling like their life is out of control, but they can control what goes in here and what they want. They can think they can control their body to look a certain way. So scary.
Well, it's interesting that this key is really kind of focused on what Richard calls territory, like protection, right? Like it's kind of, you're protecting. A lot of times we're trying to protect ourselves, or we're trying to protect our family, or so we're not trusting in the whole human family to all take care of each other. So there's this kind of uh tightness around fear of having to try and manipulate something to hold on to it or control it in a way.
And
um
and
and this
it's in
actually,
the ring. Oh, go ahead.
so the programming partner to this, the shadow, so we have control as this shadow, but the programming partner to this is the shadow of inadequacy. So isn't that interesting? Like, we feel as though we need to control if um we don't trust and feel as though we've got it to we automatically have it together because that's our natural state.
Right. And when we feel like we need to control it, we are so not trusting.
Right.
And what I also love, and I think this hit me I don't know how many times I listened to this and I would either fall asleep or I couldn't. It's like some little resistance going on here, Deborah, but it's in the ring of humanity, along with opinion, along with,
Mm-hmm.
I forget. I mean, there are all these
Yeah.
really intensely human ways of fear showing up.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, so this is a very human thing. And even people who don't think they are controlling, I just would like to find, like, I remember in watching Family Dynamics, and the youngest was always the one that would like control the cat. Like, I'm going to put clothes on you, or I'm going to, take you for a walk when you don't want to go for a walk. Or, there was this, because they felt like they didn't have any control in the family, they would find ways of controlling. And I'm just, it's an, it's a, it's such a independent streak that we all want to feel like we are in control. But where is the fear and where does it come from? Self-management or self-leadership, you know,
Right.
a
And in
self-control that is open and loving versus the fear-based control.
and in an opposite town in this state, this is the repressive nature, is submissive. Like you give your power away, and you just, they're afraid of being in control, since it means that they alone are going to be accountable for the choices they make.
Oh, well, see, oh my God. And I think that's where so many people are still looking for a leader
Right.
or a religious figure or someone that they're like, I can't control it. Like, I just need to follow whatever you tell me to do. And then it's not, then I don't have to be responsible.
Right.
I
Yeah.
didn't put that
Well,
together.
because they're afraid of making mistakes or afraid of failing. And so they'd
Oh,
rather have somebody else be responsible for it. And so they're a lot of oftentimes seen as very laid back, relaxed, right? Whereas the controlling ones are very in your face. The reactive nature, of course, are labeled control freaks. Like they're
yeah. And if you think about like some of the different, like the disc, the supporter, the one
mm-hmm.
that goes along with whatever you make the decisions and I'll just carry it out. They're the ones that are always like the glue that help make the parties happen.
Right.
But they don't want to be in charge. They just want to be a worker bee kind of person. Oh my goodness. Okay.
So, um, yeah. So those are the two angles. When
Of
we
the
move of the shadow, yeah, and when we move over to the gift, this is where it starts getting good, because this is really about your inner refinement. It's the word is authority. So that is when you are moving beyond being a victim of your circumstance and you're taking ownership, and you starve that shadow of its energy.
yeah. So instead of that, you define me, the external focus, it's taking on the, oh, and I like how he even says the root of this word has author in it. So you are self-authoring
Mhm.
versus other authored.
Right.
And we can see in the human development scale where children get to that place, where they start pushing back and then they start taking control. And then they hopefully eventually become adults where they can go out and be self-authored. So
Well, and just think about it. If we don't give children some level of self-authoring, they're going to constantly be searching for someone to tell them what to do. I
right.
I kind of felt like I I can relate to that.
Really?
Yeah, I can, because I felt like I followed a lot of rules. I wanted to do it the right way. My thing was connected to failure. And so I didn't want to screw up. I wanted to do it the right way. So I would try and follow what was going on without really understanding that I could totally trust myself and my own abilities and really tune into what I I know in my own beingness
is
to.
is the right next step. Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's good. I guess I didn't. Yeah. I mean, I think we all have grown through that, and we may not remember that transition, but on some level, there's still those younger or immature or fearful parts. I
sure.
mean, we're riddled with them,
Right.
and so this is going to be a constant uh, reminder of, oh, there's my humanity.
Well, when we really can, you can feel the essence of authority. And the people that have this in their hologenetic profile, or if it moves through you, and it is that you're speaking from your heart. Like that is just your self-authoring. You recognize your own brilliance and you share it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not asserted. He says it's not asserted through will. It only can be afforded through trust, authority. So it's not willpower. It's through trusting in your own innate beingness.
So how this relates to leadership, because he talks about this, is more that you're trusting yourself as a leader, so you don't need to be controlling. I'm trusting I'll make good decisions, and I trust that I'm surrounded by people that'll support me to carry out. Is that what it is, kind of?
Exactly. Well, I mean, um, I think the people uh, that trust life and trust their own ability do find the talent and connect with the people, and then they choose them based on their gifts, and they allow them to flourish and grow in whatever
Because
way.
there's not fear that I need to control you because I don't have an, yeah, I see.
Very different than like having a boss or an authority that puts you in your place and like shoves you there and like wants to control, like have you be under them, like kind of like a hierarchy kind of thing.
Yeah, like under my,
Right.
you know,
Whereas,
I had a leader say this to me once, that she got so tired because the group that she was leading always wanted her to have all the answers. And I said, "And do you?" And she goes, "God, no." And I said, "So how will you model a different way of being or a different way of leading so that they step up and start taking responsibility?" She goes, "Oh, I would love that." So that's what we worked on with her. It
that's
was so
awesome.
funny because she was so like, I'm not supposed to know it all.
Yeah, I had a boss that basically said, he goes, I trust you. Go and create several solutions and then bring back, your top three.
Oh, I love that. And that feels, the other thing is, on the flip side, the person that's receiving that kind of leadership feels like they are empowered, and then they step into their self leadership. It's just,
Yeah.
so I can feel the authority, which is funny because very often we put authority with authoritarian,
Mm.
which
Mm-hmm.
is the controlling.
Right.
And how do we look at the more heart based authority, which is trusting? Oh, I love that.
Yeah. He says the beauty and magic of the 21st gift occurs when both sides of a relationship surrender to one another. And
Oh,
so when the authority becomes the servant and the servant becomes the authority, then the relationship really hums with power, because you recognize you both are in your sync, and you are both authoring. Yeah, it's inner.
yeah, it's where you're feeding and receiving. It's that sacred exchange, right? Which
Yes.
makes the world go round.
Yeah.
Um,
So he says, in the case of the 21st gift, this authority, a pact is made when one person will become the decision maker for the group, and this one person is thus responsible for the entire group. But it's a decision that they've all made together, that that person will take the responsibility for it, or that you've chosen to take the responsibility for it. So
so that's kind of the democratic.
Right. He says, whereas the 31st, he's comparing it to a couple other keys that talk about this, different leadership styles, because the 31st gift represents the voice of the group, and the 7th gift represents the heart of the group, whereas the 21st gift represents the will of the group.
So it's the get her done.
Yeah, okay. He says these people are designed to handle more responsibility than other human beings, since their will directly affects all those in submission to them. So
interesting. And that's the other thing, is I think this gene key has more, I didn't put the will behind it, but it feels like it has more force, more energy, more and maybe that's why I needed to read it, or I need to dive into it, because I'm sitting there with all these things that need to get done, and I'm like, it's time to get her done. I mean, I'm feeling that, that impetus or momentum or whatever, and so it's so tell me a little bit more about, if we were to look at authority coming from control, like a situation that we would normally control, how can we shift that in our bodies?
Well, this particular key is related to the physiology of your lungs. So I would say a great exercise would be to really focus on your breath.
Yeah. And that, to me, when I take a deep breath, like all the way down into my belly, or will center, if you want to call it that, or control center or power center, it allows my whole system to relax, which allows trust to be connected, allows trust to be the operating system, if you will. So I can feel the difference just by relaxing into that, because then I don't need to, like, I'm not getting ready to fight or flee or. Okay.
So that probably will help. Do you have a mudra that we could work with too?
Oh, and I don't know why I haven't been playing with it. So it's you take your, let's see, there we go. So you take your ring finger and your middle finger, and you fold them down, leaving your index and your pinky up. Your thumb folds over nicely, and it already feels more powerful. Like I'm actually doing something with my hands that is angular. It feels very masculine to me, actually.
Well, this is like rock star stuff.
Oh, it is that too, which is authority, right? But I mean, for valor, this is like going into, and I go into immediately. I think of valor, and I think of, King Arthur and the sword and all of that, because it is this. It sounds like such an ancient word that you used back in the day to get your sword and get on your horse and go to battle, and to have that, and they had to be afraid, but they would put on that
armor
literally, and a shield, and have their big sword and whatever. So that's what this feels like to me. It feels like, okay, armor.
It is associated with courage. I mean, when you're standing in your authority, that's courageous. And
I journaled about this morning about showing up, speaking up, standing up, which that's what this feels like. It feels like, okay, this is the courage to just take it. And then the next step would be to share, right? Sharing our gifts. So this is the action movement, the action figure.
Power. Superpower. Activate.
So,
and this also, the other word that's connected to this, valor, just think feel the energy of the word nobility.
I love
Mm.
that. And we play a lot with that word because it has such a regal stance to it when I'm doing embodiment work with people. Because if you feel nobility in your body, you're automatically, your spine is straight and your head is up and
your chest is open.
yes.
Yeah.
And it
Open-hearted.
feels beautiful. It
Yeah.
feels strong. It feels powerful. And the one thing I want to point out about this Siddhic state is we were talking about control because of feeling like we don't have any control, and then how we move into the authority, which is like the self-authoring.
Mm-hmm.
The Siddhic state or the Valor state is a trans personal. So this is where I'm not just trusting me in my ability to get on this horse and go to battle. I am trusting the whole process.
Right.
I am trusting that the rest of my flank is going to be there riding in with me. I am trusting in a bigger entity besides this body. And that
So
feels big to
so
me.
I want to read this to you. So valor can be understood as nobility in action. It contains virtue, wisdom, love, courage, and above all, sacrifice.
Oh, wait a minute. Read that. Virtue,
Wisdom,
wisdom,
love,
courage, and love.
and above all, sacrifice.
I am having a problem with that. So,
Well, this is what, people would die for the king, right? They're the
oh,
king and
like,
country.
oh, so it's the dying of the egoic.
Right. So actually, it's about dying into the divine ideal.
That makes sense to me. So I'm letting go of my little s self.
Yes,
Okay.
correct. And
So that's where the shaman comes in, right?
you're
That's
trusting your crown, and you're trusting everybody else's.
okay, which is how this has been associated with the shaman
Mm-hmm.
for millennia. And then the other piece that I wanted to bring forward about the Gene Keys, thank you, Richard Rudd, is he talks about the symbol of thunder and lightning
Mm-hmm.
and how the thunder is the kind of the human, worldly what we experience here, but lightning always comes from above. And it could be the lightning of inspiration, it could be the lightning of waking up or wisdom. But I love that because we have to have that the two of them partner so beautifully together.
Yeah.
Earth and sky, human and divine.
So valor, he says, valor therefore represents the surrender of control, which is symbolized by male or man, to trust, which symbolizes the female,
mm-hmm.
or by woman.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's that balancing the poles of our psyche, as well as our own connection to
Our
others.
energy systems too,
Yeah.
the intuitive, the intellect, the
So
physical, the divine. Yeah.
this kind of sells it in a nutshell. The power of valor could thus be surmised as the courage and love that must be found within the lower self to die into the unknown world of the higher self.
One more time.
The power of valor could thus be surmised as the courage and love that must be found within the lower self to die
Okay.
into the unknown world of the higher self. So you are foregoing with your, like you said, the little egoic small s, to opening yourself up to something broader, bigger,
Yeah. That we can't even imagine.
Right.
Yeah. So this to me, this is like,
chill out.
yep. And then this can arise.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I'm feeling a card, so I'm gonna.
Okay, I'm just gonna hold the mudra.
Okay. And this is this deck is really cute. It is by Kyle Gray. Oops. Why it does this?
Angels and archetypes.
Angels and ancestors. It's
Oh,
the
ancestors.
angels and ancestors. What do we need to know this week during thinking about valor?
Well, it's also in a lot of traditions, it's Easter week and rebirth. It's also like we just, had the equinox, so we're in this new spring, new beginnings. So what's coming forward? What are we birthing?
Okay, top, middle, or bottom?
Middle.
All right. Oh, so it's the arrow card, and let me.
Well, there's an arrow.
It's like make sure where you're pointing your arrows, right?
Ah,
So,
that's pretty. Is that a sun or a moon or just a circle of?
I don't know why it's not like.
It's a little blurry, but
I
that's okay.
know, like okay. So I would think that it would go into.
Oh, it's kind of also got like the Celtic cross. Interesting.
Yeah. So arrows have long been revered as symbols of protection, as many hunter-gatherers would use a bow and arrow and as a weapon of defense. So when it appears, it's a sign for protecting what is important to you, not because everyone has the same intentions as you do. What I'm really sensing from this is that you follow your intuition about taking time to understand what you trust, who you move forward with, so you can assess what is most beneficial for you and the team. So it's a time to call on yourself, to place yourself in a place that feels safe. But the valor is like, I kind of feel like pulling all your energy back so that when you shoot your arrow, you're going to be really on target as opposed to having a bent arrow and shooting.
Oh, which goes.
As opposed to shooting off into some other area that isn't useful to you.
Well, that's interesting because one of the things that I heard in this transmission on this gene key was about energy, about how we exhaust ourselves
Right.
when we're in the controlling space.
Right.
And so that's, to me, that was a great reminder because I thought, oh, sometimes I don't realize I'm trying to control an outcome or control a situation until all of a sudden my whole system goes, oh, I'm tired. I need coffee.
Right.
And I need a nap, whatever. And I'm like, whoa. So that also is when you have that truth of your arrow. I also think of arrows when I think of Archangel Michael, right? The arrow of truth.
Yep.
There's something about it's clean energy,
yep,
and it's straight and true. And so it doesn't have to like work so hard to get through the system because there's no resistance, because that's what he was talking about. Is resistance is what creates a lot of exhaustion. Oh, I love that you drew that card.
Yay, arrows.
Yay.
Protection and direction, very clear and aimed.
And when you're feeling the anxiousness or the exhaustion starting to take over, that's time to do some breath work, realign, get into that straight, true place, because that's when our truth and our love and our light can be the most in service.
Yeah. Love you. Till next time.
Absolutely. Thank you.